Imagine you are trapped inside a giant brass church bell. Now imagine a giant is hitting that bell with a sledgehammer 20 times a second. Clang, clang, clang. Your teeth rattle, your eyes go black, blood starts leaking from your ears. You aren't being hit by bullets, you are being hit by sound. People say a tank is the safest place on the battlefield. They are lying. This is the story of the ricochet fear and how a tank crew can be killed without a single bullet ever penetrating the armor. Imagine you are trapped inside a giant brass church bell. Now imagine a giant is hitting that bell with a sledgehammer 20 times a second. Clang, clang, clang. Your teeth rattle, your eyes go black, blood starts leaking from your ears. You aren't being hit by bullets, you are being hit by sound. People say a tank is the safest place on the battlefield. They are lying. This is the story of the ricochet fear and how a tank crew can be killed without a single bullet ever penetrating the armor. The world inside a tank is a nightmare compared to the outside. Outside, there is space. Inside, 5 of us were crammed together, knees knocking, sweating in the rising heat, and the sound, it wouldn't stop. Rat-tat-tat-tat, clang! Every time a bullet hit, the entire 30-ton hull vibrated. The driver screamed, "I can't see! My vision block is shattered!" That is a tanker's worst fear, blindness. An enemy bullet had smashed the glass prism of his periscope. We couldn't move. We were a 30-ton monster turned into a sitting duck. I looked at the gunner. He had his hands pressed tight over his ears, rocking back and forth. He was muttering to himself, "Make it stop! Make it stop!" The sound was drilling into our skulls. But the fear wasn't just a noise. A new horror began. Spalling. When high-velocity rounds hammer the same spot on the armor repeatedly, the shockwaves cause the inside layer of the steel to flake off. Razor-sharp metal shards fly across the cabin at the speed of a bullet. Suddenly, the loader screamed, "Ah, my eye!" I turned around. His face was covered in blood. No bullet had entered the tank, but the tank itself was tearing apart and attacking us. "Medic! Medic!" the commander yelled. But there are no doctors in a steel box filled with metal dust. With every clang, we flinched, waiting for the next piece of metal to slice into us. The loader was on the floor, writhing in pain, but we could barely hear his screams. The relentless clang, clang, clang from outside had numbed our brains. The gunner, who had been quiet, suddenly snapped. He started screaming, "They are cutting us open! They are cutting us open!" He reached for the hatch handle to open it. It was suicide. If he opened that hatch, we were all dead. The commander drew his pistol and pistol-whipped the gunner's helmet. "Fack! Stay in your seat!" the commander roared. He stared into the gunner's eyes. There was no human left in there, just a terrified animal. The air inside was now thick with the metallic smell of blood, sweat, and burnt cordite. We couldn't breathe. My teeth were loose. My nose started bleeding, not from a punch, but from the sheer pressure of the vibration. We couldn't just sit there and die. The driver was blind. The commander looked through his periscope. It was cracked, spider-webbed, but he could see a blur. "Fire the coax! Fire blind!" he ordered. The gunner squeezed the trigger. Brrr! The noise doubled. The sound of our own gun mixed with the incoming fire created a cacophony no human should ever hear. We were firing into the darkness, praying we hit something. Then came a new sound, not a bullet. Thump. And then the heat. "Molotov! They threw fire!" The enemy was climbing on top of us. They had thrown a petrol bomb on the engine deck. The vents sucked the smoke in. If the fire reached the fuel lines, this iron box would become our... "Driver! Reverse! Full power!" the commander screamed. The driver couldn't see a thing. He slammed the gear stick by instinct and stomped on the gas. The tank lurched backward. Crunch! We rolled over something. Rubble, or maybe an enemy soldier. We didn't know. The tank slammed into a wall. We heard bricks falling on the roof, but the machine gun fire, clang, clang, was still chasing us. The commander grabbed the driver's shoulder, shouting directions into his ear. Right! Now left! Straighten out! We were running blind through the narrow alleyways, scraping walls, crushing debris, desperate to escape the sound. After 5 minutes of hell, suddenly the noise stopped. Clang, and then silence. We had reached our lines. The driver killed the engine. But inside the tank, there was no silence. In my ears, a high-pitched scream rang out. Tee! It was tinnitus. I looked at the commander. His lips were moving. He was shouting something, but I couldn't hear him. I touched my ears. My fingers came back wet. Blood. We were all bleeding from our ears. The loader was unconscious. We were alive. Not a single bullet had penetrated our armor. But that day, inside the iron bell, we lost our hearing and our sanity. They say you are safe inside a tank, but they don't tell you that the sound alone can